Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the first Coming Out for Equality that we have here at Pitt. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Liza Graville. She's the assistant to the principal, and she will be reading a letter from President Alexander since he was unable to attend.
Thank you, Jenna, and the group that's organized this event today. Dr. Alexander regrets that he couldn't be here to share this event with all of us today, but he is actually traveling to China, probably in the air as we speak. So on his behalf, I will read his remarks. Thank you for offering me the opportunity to prepare a statement for National Coming Out for Equality Day. I apologize that I cannot be in attendance, but I'm traveling to China today. I commend those of you who organize this event, those of you who show your support through your attendance, and those who stand up for diversity in the living of their everyday lives. As an individual, I have a long-standing commitment to the importance of a diverse, respectful community. As a college president, I am wholly committed to the rights of students to live free of prejudice and discrimination. This translates into the institutional commitment of the University of Pittsburgh at Bradford to foster a safe and friendly environment for all people, regardless of race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry, age, marital status, familial status, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, genetic information, disability, or status as a veteran. As you gather today to observe National Coming Out for Equality Day, I express my explicit support for lesbian, bisexual, gay, and transgendered members of our community and their supporters. It is heartening to see the Safe Zone icon on our campus, and I encourage all of us to engage in conversations about how we can more fully live our commitment, not only to a safe environment, but to one which encourages LGBTQ individuals to grow and flourish at Pitt Bradford. An institution is only as strong, creative, committed, and visionary as the members of its community, and I am proud to stand with all of you and for equality in our community. Sincerely, Livingston Alexander.
Thank you, Liza. Our next speaker is Dr. Evans. He's the Dean of Student Affairs.
Thank you very much, Jenna, and I'm truly honored to be asked to speak today on what I see as a very momentous occasion in the history of the University of Pittsburgh at Bradford. I particularly want to thank Jenna Euler for all the work she did in putting this together with support from Dr. Jesse Blackburn and other students, faculty, and staff. Let's please give Jenna a round of applause for that. You know, we are here today because we ride the shoulders of those who preceded us. And we didn't get here by accident. We got here today because there are many, many pioneers who came before that felt very strongly about non-discrimination and valuing the humanness of each individual. And while valuing the humanness, we can then value the diversity that follows. One of the wonderful benefits about being an old person, and now that I'm old, I'm proud of being old, and I'm trying to remove any stigma related to being old. I want old to be seen as being wise and having lots of knowledge instead of being decrepit and ready for the grave. So old is good. It is not a four-letter word, okay? But one of the benefits about being older is that you can see the great pulses of history. And as I look back on my life, I can see a number of events that got us to this point. Certainly, I'm too young to remember when President Truman desegregated the U.S. military in 1948. But quickly thereafter, 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education, Chief Justice Earl Warren, a Republican appointed by a Republican president, said that schools would no longer be allowed to be separate but equal, that the schools had to become integrated. And of course, that was going to take a long time, but they set the tone right then and there in 1954. That's a long time ago. Then it was shortly thereafter that a woman by the name of Rosa Parks in Montgomery, Alabama, refused to give up her seat on the bus to a white passenger, which was the custom of the day, because even though we had fought the Civil War many, many years before, we still were dealing with terrible segregation in this country. A person my age is old enough to remember the rise of Dr. Martin Luther King and the wonderful "I Have a Dream" speech that he gave on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And to the African-American pioneers that led, along with their white allies, that led the cause for reducing segregation and making our nation more fair to all. After that, we saw other groups rise. We saw the women's movement take place. We saw Hispanics. We saw people not wanting to be discriminated against because of not only the color of their skin, but their cultural and ethnic background, their religion, and so forth. One of the things that was starkly missing, however, was there was no mention of gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered. It was not spoken back in those years, and there are a few of you that can remember in this room that just wasn't talked about. And even the non-discrimination clauses that universities had in the early years omitted any reference to sexual orientation. Then came 1969, Greenwich Village, New York, and the Stonewall riots. They were a series of spontaneous, violent demonstrations against a police raid that took place in the early morning hours of June the 28th at the Stonewall Inn. They are frequently cited as the first instance in American history when people in the homosexual community fought back against a government-sponsored system that persecuted sexual minorities. And they have become the defining event that marked the start of the gay rights movement in the United States and around the world. But it would take years, if not decades, for people to overcome their prejudices and embrace gays and lesbians as equal brothers and sisters. Early on, I'm pleased to say that the University of Pittsburgh developed a policy of non-discrimination. But as a reflection on the relatively conservative Pittsburgh region, it did not add sexual orientation to the list of criteria for non-discrimination until 1988. That's a full almost 20 years after Stonewall, and long after they had a non-discrimination policy at all. This was done in the last few years of the administration of Chancellor Posvar. But it would take many more years to put substance to this, as full domestic partner benefits were not granted until the early part of the last decade, since the year 2000. And now, as we come to understand the varieties of sexual expression, the non-discrimination clause just this year, in 2011, has finally caught up and now reads as follows. In addition to sexual orientation, listen closely. Again, Liza read this, but I'm going to read it again. The University of Pittsburgh prohibits and will not engage in discrimination or harassment on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, ancestry, sex, age, marital status, familial status, sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. This is specifically put in to protect transgendered people who are also part of this group that we celebrate and value today. Genetic information, disability, or status as a veteran. So our non-discrimination has finally caught up. Pitt offers full health benefits for certified domestic same-sex partners, but it's still a work in progress. We still can become better at what we do. And we've learned over the years at the University of Pittsburgh that having a policy that values non-discrimination is good for student recruitment, it's good for faculty recruitment, it's good for staff recruitment, and it's just because it's the right thing to do. We would not be the quality institution we are today if we did not have these non-discrimination clauses and put meat to the bone and really value folks from the broad array of diversity. So the question I have is what kind of culture do we want to create at Pitt Bradford? What type of college community should we become? Well, my feeling is that we need to be a community where all are accepted equally and affirmed in their humanness, as equals before they are black, white, Asian, lesbian, gay, Catholic, Muslim, etc. And the list goes on. We're all equal as human beings and all valued for the contributions we can bring to this institution of higher learning. For many of you, as was mentioned earlier, you'll see these safe zone posters in offices. This means anyone who sports one of these in their office has gone through safe zone training, and it's a safe place for anybody to talk about anything related to sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. It's my hope that years from now, this will become antiquated, that we won't need these anymore, that the entire campus will be a safe zone for everybody to be able to be what they are and feel that they are valued for what they are. One other note I want to make. The planning for this started months ago, didn't it, Jenna? And since the time we started this to the event today, the United States military finally dropped "Don't ask, don't tell." So you can see that this is a dynamic process. There's always more to be done, but I'm very proud to be associated with an institution that on the first day of National Coming Out for Equality, that we have packed the Harriet B. Wick Chapel, and that all of you are here because you support people in their humanness and in the diversity they bring to strengthen our college community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Evans. Our next speaker is Dr. Harden. He's also the Dean of Faculty Affairs.
Thank you very much. Another speaker that's old and proud of it. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you for organizing this. You've done a great job, and thanks to everyone for attending. Just and equitable societies are built on understanding, compassion, and acceptance. The mission of higher education is to impact society, to serve the greater good of not just the campus and our nation, but also the global society. And of course, Pitt Bradford is at the forefront of this initiative, these efforts. Over the years, higher education has matured in its commitment to global perspectives, its impact on societies and the world, and its support of acceptance and diversity. Colleges and universities should always strive to expand our body of knowledge, to improve our understanding of the human experience, and to enhance human happiness. The University of Pittsburgh is committed to understanding, compassion, acceptance, equality, and diversity. In fact, it's really a part of the fabric of this university. This commitment is reflected, as Dean Evans pointed out, in the many policies that we have in place here at the university. Pitt is a diversity-friendly institution and actively promotes diversity. Some tangible examples are our commitment to this commitment is the fact that we take very seriously the non-discrimination in interviews and hiring and those sorts of activities on campus. Each new faculty member, in fact, is required to complete an anti-harassment workshop, and each year Pittsburgh, the main campus, sends out reminders, copies of the policies regarding discrimination and harassment. Through its actions and policies, the University of Pittsburgh promotes understanding and acceptance. And because of these favorable policies here at Pitt Bradford and in the Pittsburgh system, we've been very successful at attracting and retaining diverse faculty, staff, and students. The fact that there are diverse individuals that you will come in contact with, that you'll get to know here at Pitt Bradford, is due in no small part to these progressive policies and our accepting atmosphere, our accepting attitudes here at Pitt Bradford. This benefits you as a student. It broadens your horizons, exposes you to new experiences, new ways of knowing, and new aspects of understanding. And it makes you a better citizen. Diversity challenges stereotype preconceptions and asks you to think critically. Higher education's acceptance of different points of view, of different interpretations of the natural world and society, of different ways of viewing the world and society, is an ideal that we constantly strive for. I would argue that this acceptance should be all-encompassing. Whether we're talking about different opinions as it relates to a scientific hypothesis, different interpretations of a historical event, or different social and personal choices. People are people. And it simply is the right thing to do when we accept, embrace our differences. When we live up to these ideals, it makes us stronger as a campus, as a society, and as a nation. Especially in this shrinking world that we live in, this connected world that we live in, it's even more important that we learn to judge people by the quality of their character and their contributions. This celebration today is a perfect example of our commitment to acceptance and understanding. I thank Dean Evans and Tanya Ackley and Margot Myers for their support of this event. But more importantly, I commend Jenna Euler and Tyler Morris and really all of the students who have organized and contributed to this event here today, especially the LGBT Alliance members. It's just another example of the excellent nature and mature nature of our students that we have here at Pitt Bradford. You make us very proud that you're our students, that you're members of our learning community, and that you're members of the Pitt Bradford family. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Harden. Our next speaker is Eric Austin. He's our president of the SGA.
Thank you, Jenna, and thank every one of you for being here today. This is beyond my absolute wildest dreams. I never would have expected to see this many students, faculty, and staff out here today. And it really is a testament, as everyone has said already, to the kind of culture and community that we try to cultivate here at Pitt. It shows, by you being out here today, a real commitment to diversity, and that's absolutely the best thing we could possibly ask for. One of the things that we strive for here on campus, especially on student government's part, is to ensure that for any student who has a unique niche or a particular special interest, that there is an organization who represents their interests. And up until recently, LGBTS was underfulfilled. It was a community that had not quite found the proper leadership. It had not quite represented what is, up till recently, a very underrepresented group, and a group that was oftentimes pushed under the rug and forgotten. And the fact that we are all sitting here today, and the fact that we now, for the first time in many, many years, have this sort of organization, is a testament to the new leadership and a testament to the changing culture on this campus at Pitt Bradford. This serves both the student interest, because obviously, as Dr. Evans and Dean Harden have said, it is very additive to a student community when we're able to see different viewpoints from places that we, different places from where we come from, and we may not possibly have that sort of perspective before. From personal experience, I come from a very rural area, and if you would have told me then that I'd be standing up here and discussing this matter, I would have told you you're crazy, because it was something that just wasn't talked about. And I'm very thankful that I've been able to have the experiences that I've had here, and to see the unique perspectives, and to get more of a broader understanding on how the world really does work and should work. So it also serves a secondary purpose as to the university itself. Being a regional campus of the University of Pittsburgh, one of the major goals is to reach out to the surrounding community and to serve its interests. And as many of you know, this is a very, very rural area, and anything outside of the normal traditional mindset is often met with resistance and some level of hostility. So the founding of this organization and an event such as this speaks to our commitment to making sure that everyone is exposed to these ideas and is brought into a greater level of acceptance and understanding. As I said, this proves that we have come a very, very long way, but it also shows that we have a long way to go. And I am very confident that with the continuation of these programs, the continuation of this sort of convocation, and the continued understanding of our students, faculty, and staff, that we will continue to push forward and we will continue to go that long distance. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Our next speaker is Dr. Jessie Blackburn. She is our co-advisor to the LGBTS Alliance.
Thank you, Jenna, and congratulations on a very successful inaugural event. I am an ally for lesbian, gay, transgendered, bisexual, and queer people. You may ask yourselves, why a heterosexually married woman, a mother of 2 boys, who enjoys all the privileges and benefits that society affords straight people, would take on a public role as an ally for equality? Some of you may think that that fight is only for the LGBTQ community, but I am an ally, a friend, an advocate, an activist for so many reasons. I am an ally because I spent the majority of my youth as a short-haired, scrawny girl, covered in cowlicks and wearing thick glasses, being called a butch tomboy for being different. I am an ally because when I was 13 years old, my best friend handed me his suicide note one Friday afternoon in the hallway of my high school before disappearing out the door for the weekend. Not knowing what to do, I took the note to the guidance counselor, sure that my betrayal would end our friendship forever. The next Monday morning, I sat in my homeroom and waited to see if my best friend would walk through the door and sit beside me. Just before the tardy bell rang, he walked in and sat beside me, as usual. 3 years later, on the phone in the middle of the night, my best friend told me that he'd planned to kill himself that day because he was gay, and he had known it his entire life, but he couldn't imagine living the rest of his life with that secret. Ashamed and alone, he felt suicide was his only option. He wouldn't come out to his parents for another 5 years. But he is married now to a lovely man in California, and they are both uncles and role models to my young sons. I am an ally because my sister was 30 years old, married to a man, and had a beautiful daughter before she was able to face society and come out as a lesbian. My sister, who was so deep in the closet that she remained married to a man for 10 years, is now in a committed relationship with an amazing woman and has been for the last 5 years. My niece has no recollection of life without her 2 loving mommies and her daddy, and she is still young enough to be blissfully naive of the taunting abuse she may face someday in the halls of middle and high school. And I am an ally because last month my sister was in a car accident, and the state police refused to call her partner because of their same-sex status. This means that as my sister was wheeled into an ambulance and driven off to the hospital, she did so under moral judgment and condemnation from the people who were charged as her caregivers and guardians. In that moment, my vulnerable sister had no rights, none of the privileges that would have been afforded me had I been in the car with her during that accident, had I needed the police to call my husband on my behalf. I am an ally because every semester, students appear in my office because they don't know where else to go to face college life on their own without pressures of their home communities forcing them to remain in the closet. This newfound freedom for many closeted LGBTQ students is both liberating and overwhelming, and the fear of which foot to put in front of the other as they walk into their new identities can be paralyzing. I am an ally for the 9 million Americans who, according to the Williams Institute at the UCLA School of Law, identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. The Institute also finds that bisexuals make up 1.8% of the population, while 1.7% are gay or lesbian, and transgendered adults make up 0.3% of the population. I am an ally because even with such a high population of LGBTQ Americans, and even while so much progress has been made in the fight for social justice and human rights, our federal government explicitly bars recognition of same-sex marriages, and only 5 states plus the District of Columbia recognize it at the state level, leaving 45 states still legally discriminating against and openly oppressing their gay, lesbian, and bisexual tax-paying citizens. Whether married or not, gay and lesbian same-sex couples are denied many federal benefits that are available to heterosexual married couples. For example, same-sex gay and lesbian couples cannot take advantages of federal tax benefits conferred upon married heterosexual couples. Many same-sex couples lose thousands of dollars per year because they have to file separate tax returns with the IRS. Married couples can combine their personal estate tax exemptions. This means that the second spouse to die can leave property worth up to $10 million free from federal estate tax. Gay or lesbian couples do not get that portability. So that second spouse to die can leave only $5 million tax-free. The heterosexual spouses of deceased veterans are entitled to a myriad of benefits, including health care, death pensions, educational assistance, home loan guarantees, vocational training, and bereavement counseling. Same-sex military spouses are not entitled to these services and benefits, yet their military partners put themselves in the line of fire on this country's behalf. Many immigration benefits are tied to marital status. For example, a non-U.S. citizen may obtain legal residency and later citizenship status when married to a U.S. citizen. Non-U.S. citizens who are in same-sex marriages or partnerships are not entitled to this benefit. This is true even if the couple has a valid marriage certificate from a country that does allow same-sex marriages. I am an ally because according to the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, of the estimated 1.6 million homeless American youth, between 20 and 40% identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgendered. Why do LGBT youth become homeless? In one study, 26% of gay teens who come out to their parents and guardians were told that they must leave home. LGBT youth also leave home due to physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. Homeless LGBT youth are more likely to use drugs, participate in sex work, and attempt suicide. Also, LGBT youth report they are threatened, belittled, and abused at shelters by staff as well as other residents. I am an ally for Jamie Rodemeyer of Buffalo, New York, and the countless other teens who almost a quarter of a century after my best friend contemplated killing himself still commit suicide today due to being bullied over their sexual orientation. According to the Center for Disease Control and the Archives of Pediatric and Adolescent Medicine, teenagers who are gay or bisexual are more than 3 times as likely to attempt suicide as other youth, and young men are at particular risk. I am an ally because my 2 sons have the courage to grow up in a world that inundates them with macho images of what it means to be a man and degrading images of how men should treat women and how women should treat themselves. I am an ally because I am a feminist. And as long as sexism exists, so too will homophobia and vice versa. You may wonder what those 2 bigotries have to do with one another, but consider for a moment why it is seen as insulting and degrading to call a gay man a girly girl or a queen. Why would this insult work if society didn't see women as second-class citizens to begin with? It is only offensive to call a gay man a woman or a girl, or to see him as an effeminate, malformed man, as long as being a woman or a girl is seen as inferior. This is why the women's rights movement of the late 20th century so clearly and organically aligned itself with gay rights. And this is why the alliance between feminists and LGBTQ activists remains so strong to this day. Because in both cases, the goal is to seek a just world that is guided by enlightened acceptance of difference. I am an ally for my sister, my niece, my best friend, my gay cousin, my LGBTQ colleagues and students, Jamie Rodemeyer, and all the LGBTQ identities in this world, because as Martin Luther King Jr. once wrote, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and anyone who passively accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it. LGBTQS alliances around America and the world will be seen today as the United States celebrates National Coming Out Day. However, Our challenge extends beyond our time together this afternoon. Our challenge extends into our everyday lives, our lives that we lead 365 days a year. And I believe it is you and your generation that will normalize LGBTQS alliances. Your generation will be the one to flip the scales and replace bigotry and homophobia with tolerance, patience, and understanding. Your generation will be the one to lead by example and empower all people, regardless of their sexual identity. Just as the civil rights movement was led by a generation of committed and active citizens who believed in a better world, so too will this movement be led by you and your generation. And you should know that you will not be alone as an ally for this cause. According to the most recent Gallup poll, for the first time in Gallup's tracking of this issue, a majority of Americans, 53%, believe same-sex marriage should be recognized by the law as valid, with the same rights as traditional marriages, and 70% of people aged 18 to 34 support legalizing gay marriage. Let me repeat that. 53% of Americans believe same-sex marriage should be recognized by the law as valid, with the same rights as traditional marriages, and 70% of people aged 18 to 34 support legalizing gay marriage. This year's 9 percentage point increase in support for same-sex marriage is the largest year-to-year shift yet measured. Congratulations to you and your generation for leading this cultural shift away from homophobia and toward human rights and social justice. Congratulations for standing up and leading us into a future where the rights conferred on heterosexual couples will be seen as birthrights, not privileges. Because of you and your generation, I have hope that my niece will face less taunting as the daughter of 2 lesbians than I did as a little girl who looked gay. I have hope that in my sister's lifetime, the state police will be obligated to call her same-sex partner should she ever be in another accident. I have hope that in my lifetime, same-sex partners across the country will be afforded the same civil rights that my heterosexuality affords me. I have hope that my boys will be free to grow into the men they were born to be, not what society narrates for them. I have hope that because of you and your generation, Jamie Rodemeyer will not have died in vain. I have hope that you and your generation will demand better from each other and the rest of us. I challenge all of you to carry this hope across our campus and back into your home communities where you will emerge as leaders in this cause. The temptation to let our commitment to this cause wane will be strong after National Coming Out Day comes to a close and over the coming days and months, especially for those of us who benefit from heterosexism. But I challenge all of us to remember our feelings of commitment today as we rise from our seats and walk back out into our everyday lives. I ask that as we leave the Wick Chapel today, we do so in deep thought and with active vision of how we will celebrate diversity and carry this hope back across our campus and into the world that is what we will make it. The Source is here today. That is our local campus newspaper. And they are here to document this and archive our inaugural Coming Out Day for Equality. I encourage all of those who are here today who would like to stand up for equality to feel free to participate in a photo opportunity directly following this convocation and join us, your fellow colleagues, your faculty, and your staff in standing up for equality.
I just want to thank all of you for coming and making this event wonderful. As we leave today, I would like us to leave not necessarily in a moment of silence, but in a moment of recognition and remembrance for all of those who are LGBTQ, and also just so we can show that we are allies for all of them. Thank you.